Well, as you can see, we are using bezels with our UV resin, but these are special in that the images kind of float on the inside. How neat is that? And we have a product, not surprising, that's going to make this so easy. And I hope that you will please come play with us. Now, there are two ways that you can make the acetate be in the center of your bezel. And we are using the open bezels, so that allows it to float. Now, I've got the bronze ones here that I'm working with, but as I showed you in the beginning, we have gold, we have silver, so we've got lots of options for you. Okay, now I'm going to start and duplicate this one. That is the hummingbird. It doesn't look quite as pizzazzy, does it, when it's just sitting on my craft sheet, but as you saw, it's quite beautiful when it is worn. And this is the magic, the UV resin acetate. So there are two 8.5 by 11 sheets of acetate. In fact, we'll back up so that you can really see them. And here they are. And you're going to get 16 designs, but then we have also done the outline of 5 bezel shapes so that you the artwork is going to work. So you can see in a rectangle, we needed to stack them. In a square or a circle, we gave you some different directions that it's going, a different thing for the oval. Now, this is the cover of this, and there are the instructions, which is what I'm going to give you right now. So there are 2 sheets, 16 designs, 5 bezel shapes. Okay, got all that? Well, let's now move into making these work. Okay, now I'm going to take, this time I'm going to duplicate this one, and I'm going to take a piece of my resin tape, and I want to double check and make sure that the, how this ring is going to be. Now, on this one, that loop was equal to both sides. It doesn't pooch out, but this particular one, it does kind of pooch out. So we have to do something different with this. So I'm going to lay this on my tape, my resin tape. You can get it in squares. You can also get it in the roll and just cut it off. So that's going to work. And I'm going to take, actually, I'm going to take my circular hummingbird, and I'm going to pull it or cut it out. Just kind of, I call this whacking it out, not making it careful or anything. And I think it's going to work better for you if I have a white piece of paper under this, just to show you as we move along so you can see what we're going for. Okay, so with this piece, I want to cut away the black line. Okay, and you don't have to be terribly careful about it, but you just don't want to cut into the image. Okay, you can cut it smaller, that's fine. Of course, you can't cut it larger because the black line would show. But I don't have to make it a perfectly round piece of cutting because this is going to fit inside my bezel. Okay, so this gets tossed away. Okay, now here is my piece. Now I'm going to place this on the acetate. So I want to make sure that it's going to fit. And I'm just going to set it inside. Now, let me just fix this. It seemed like it was a little bit attached to that circle, and I don't want that to happen because I want the UV resin to go all over it. So I'm just going to, just trim off a little bit of the acetate. Again, staying clear of the designs. Okay, so I'm going to place that down, And I'm going to take the ring, put it right on top, like so, and make sure that it is centered within the bezel. There we go. There we go. Okay, so that should be stuck down firmly. And just going to make sure. Okay. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my UV resin and I'm going to do a thin layer. So, just a thin layer. Now, this particular bezel has kind of a thick side to it. This was thinner, but the one that I just picked up to use is a little bit thicker. But I always find I get best results if I use thinner layers of UV resin. So here we go. This on. And you know the drill. We're going to use our toothpick to press that to the edges. And we can use a flame to remove any potential air bubbles. And just scooping this around. And I find that as I get more experienced with the resin, I'm not quite as paranoid of it doing something strange to me. I don't feel like I have to be quite as, just once going around it is going to assure me that it is really attached to the edges. Now I'm going to take my flame, I'm going to get this off of the cardboard, put it back on my craft sheet, and I don't see any bubbles, but better safe than sorry. So just lay it right against the UV resin. Now I'm going to bring in my Mighty Light, my little timer, and I find that it takes about 3 minutes, so we'll come back as soon as that's finished. Now that has already been cured, so it's nice and solid. One thing I want to tell you, if you have a bezel that has a loop that is kind of sticks out from the bezel itself, when you're curing it and when you're working with it, you're going to want to put it on something so that that edge can stick out. So piece of styrofoam. I use my self-healing cutting mat, which is what I just did. So you just want to make sure that that does stay flat. Otherwise, your resin is going to be slanted, and that's not what we want. Okay, so that's the first layer. Now we would also put a second layer. I'm not going to do that because you know the drill. But what I can show you is that this, when I peel it off, what's going to happen? Well, what happens is that the image transfers. How neat is that? And I have to say that Jennifer Forsey is my vice president, and she is the one who figured this out. And I think it's brilliant. I love how the image is floating in there. But I had some other questions. So is there another way? Okay, well, let's look at that. So I'm going to do this heart, but again, I'm going to do it in the bronze because that's what I have sitting here. And so that's the silver. There's also a gold one that we did using this technique. So I'm going to set that, and I'm going to place the bezel like so. And this loop does not protrude outside the bezel, so I don't have to worry about that. And I'm going to do a different technique. So I'm going to put some resin, and then I'm going to put my acetate. Now first I want to make sure that my acetate, so I've already cut this. You can see, you can almost see it's a heart shape. So I want to make sure that it's going to fit nicely into my bezel, that I didn't, unintentionally get a bezel that's a different shape. So just want to make sure, just test it with a bezel, that bezel or another one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a layer of resin. Again, a thin layer, and this is the clear resin, so nothing nothing particular about this. And I'm going to just move that around and I'm going to cure it, so I will be right back. Okay, this is cured and beautiful. So now we're going to take this heart that I've cut out and position it in this heart. Just make sure it's nice and down. Then we're going to do another layer of resin over the top of it. And that resin is going to seal this in place. And this is why you want to make sure that your layers of resin are thin. You know, just that they're not filling up the bezel from the very beginning. So we're just going to do this. The end result is going to look very similar, but it's kind of nice to know that you have two options. And again, I want to thank Jennifer for doing all the product testing on this. And it was great fun to be able to choose which images we wanted to have. And you can see that we have quite a variety of flowers, but we do have some butterflies and a tree also. So be interested to hear what you think and what you plan to do with it. So just doing the same thing, and we'll do the flame, and we'll put this under the to cure it. But it's the same process. The only thing that happens is that, as you can imagine, this isn't going to peel off. It's going to be embedded in this bezel. And so we'll do another 3 minutes, or another, total 3 minutes, and I'll be right back. Okay, so in the end result, you really, I don't think, can tell a lot of difference between if it was embedded or if it is just attached to the back, but you do have two options, so that's fun. Now, another idea occurred to us, actually several ideas, but one of them was, well, what if you want to have an opaque background? What if you don't want it see-through? What can you do? Well, you can do this. So I've got the rectangular, and you can fill it with an opaque resin. Not fill it, do one layer of the opaque. So this is obviously using the white and then placing the acetate on top, making sure it's really securely down because you don't want air bubbles going underneath it, and then put clear resin over the top. That works really nicely, as you can see. Now, I do want to just show you again the package of UV resin. And here we go. You can see there's the where the hummingbird was. We'll back up a bit just so that I can show this to you. And you can see all of the art. So what we endeavored to do was to have a variety of colors. So you've got purple pansies, you've got purple lilacs, sunflowers, yellow, you've got peonies, you've got blue butterflies, pink, gold butterflies, as well as the hummingbird. And then on this one, you can see again that you've got a combination of colors, as well as the poppies, more of the blue, more of the hummingbirds, a variety of colors. And whoops, this is backwards. Okay, let me put it that way. Now, if a question might be, is there a right side and a wrong side to the acetate? Well, there isn't. There is, however, a printed side and a non-printed side. What we find is if you are doing the transfer method, you want to be sure to use the acetate just the way it's shown on the back of the package. So hopefully that makes sense to you, and that will work quite nicely. Now, that's what we have for today. I do want to tell you that I made a mistake on this, but it turned into a happy accident. And next time I will be showing you about that happy accident. So our UV resin acetate webisode number 9 is all done. And I want to thank you for joining us. Thank Jennifer for doing all of the research. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please, if you will like us, if you will make a comment, I'd love to know what you think. And also subscribe. then head on over to paperwishes.com because we have a money saver. It's on the right side of your screen, and it will show you the products that we used. And that works very, very nicely. So thank you so much for joining us and for being part of our Paper Wishes family. Bye-bye.